like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Fucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, and you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, money like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. You're
listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
All right. You up in this thing. Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in the Coma. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from our favorite sports fan. We up in this thing. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate you for being in the live on this one, man. Listen, we're going to talk a little Saints and Falcons hate week. This is week number 12. We in the building. The Saints off a bye week, fresh off of win. We need to win again against the Falcons, who are currently having some problems. But let's not be, let's not be fooled here. The records really doesn't matter anytime these two teams get together in a fight like this, and it's only a matter of time before we see a really interesting fight between these two teams. It's hate week. A lot of stuff is going on and going strong, baby. So anyway, shout out to you guys. Appreciate y'all being on the Saturday night broadcast. It's a very busy night. Our LSU Tigers are playing. While my Tigers are playing, Pelicans are playing, Saints are playing tomorrow night. It's crazy because the Pels play the Atlanta Hawks today, and tomorrow the Saints play the Falcons. So it'll be so sweet if we can just wash out the week with total Atlanta thrashing, point, and you just, through, period. Let's just wipe them out. Get a win tonight, Pels. Get a win tomorrow, Saints. 3 p.m. kickoff time, the game. Anyway, man, let's get right into it. This is some news right here, but we're going to kind of touch this story after we get into the preview. Let's start by hitting the injury report, as it like to say it go, week number 12. I'm sorry. I said 11, 12. The bye week kind of got me confused. But anyway, week 12, Saints, Falcons, man. Here's the injury report for it. Brandon Cooks is, of course, he was released. He was waived, should have been traded, but no, sir. The Saints decided ultimately to release Cooks right now. It just goes to show you the Saints really did not know what they were doing this year in terms of adding talent. We talked about the mix being totally wrong for the team. I talked about that ad nauseum about why is Brandon Cooks here. This was a bad move. We need taller receivers. They justified it, talking about he would be this, that, and the third, and it just didn't work. So they released him ultimately, and he's done so. The Saints then pivoted to having more of a young lineup there, which is, because they suck, and they finally are embracing the suckness of what they got going on, and they just deciding to go totally young with it. So Cooks is gone. So we'll go over the depth chart and talk about that as well. But he was put in the street, and we'll cover that contract news after we get to the rest of this. Tali Fuaga is a game time decision with the high ankle sprain. Elvin Kamara is also listed as questionable. He's been dealing with an ankle sprain for the last couple of weeks or more. Chris Olave is good with his ankle. Jack Stahl is good with his ankle. Barry Wesley, who has a hip issue, fully practiced. He's also listed as a game time decision. Remember, he's not on the active roster. He's still on IR. Divine Gacho had got rest, and that's hopefully the Saints defense can continue to do what they did like they did in the last matchup against Carolina. Let's keep that going. Of course, the Falcons have a lot of stuff going on with their team as well. Zach Harrison, the defensive tackle, is out of this game. Lickstrom, the guard, is game time decision. Drake London has already been listed out. Michael Penix is already listed out and has been placed, I think, on the IR, if I'm not mistaken. Xavier Watts, the young safety, is good to go. Josh Woods, the linebacker, is out for this game. D. Alford, the cornerback, is good to go. Jesse Bates did not practice, but his stuff is listed as NIR personal. Bergeron, the guard, is questionable. Billy Bowman is out for this game. Divine Deblo is also a game time decision. Brandon Dorless, the defensive tackle, is good to go. Questionable is Leonard Floyd. AJ Terrell is also should be good to go. Malik Verdon is also a game time decision for them. Jalon Waller is another Walker, should be good to go. Mike Hughes, the cornerback, should be good to go. McCullough, the lone snapper, was DNP. Defensive tackle David Onyemata was DNP with personal. Some of these guys should be good to go. Caden Ellis and Jake Matthews all listed with rest situation. A lot of issues going on with the Falcons and in this matchup, and it'll be interesting to see how they deal with it. Now, let's kind of move into it, fam, because we'll go over 10 keys to victory for the Saints against the Falcons. Not a long drawn out thing here. 2025 NFL regular season rankings are on the screen. 2-8 Saints, 3-7 Falcons. Saints beat the Falcons. They flip flop. Saints become 3-8. The Falcons be 3-8, and they flip flop. The Falcons will become then the bottom dwellers in the conference. Bottom line, right? So this is what it looks like. The Saints are averaging 15 points a game. That's tied for 30th in the NFL, 19.5. The Falcons are with 27, giving up 25 flat. That's 21st in the NFL. The Falcons are giving up 24, which is 19th. The total offense for the Saints in terms of what they're ranking, total yardage wise, almost 297, well, it's 297.2, which is 26. The Falcons 332.5, which is 16. The rushing attack, Saints have dropped to 28th in the NFL with barely 93 yards or rush, 119, almost 120 by the Falcons, which is 13 ranked. They really rely on that rushing attack. The passing offense NFL rank is 204.4 with 20th. As we know that Tyler Shough did blow that door open, and as they continue to mimic that attack, we should be further up in that passing offense. 212.6 is what the Falcons are, which is 18th. The total defense, we're allowing 317.5 points per contest, which is 10th, or yards per contest in the game, and 326.5 yards are allowed, 13th by the Falcons. And their total defense, the Saints are giving up 124, which is 21st in the NFL. The Falcons are giving up 138.5, which is 28th, which is showing you can run on them. The Saints are a top 9 secondary with 194 yards given up. The Falcons are top 6, 188. So they're showing you statistically that the Falcons, if you're just looking at the stats and nothing else, that you can overwhelmingly run on the Falcons. That's what it comes. They do give up a lot of rushing attack right there on defense. And you can see the punt averages as well. The turnover margin is -3 by the Saints, which is tied for 19. The Falcons are opportunistic as so far as they're +4 in the turnover margin, which is tied for 9th in the entire NFL. Possession time, you can see right around the same amount. And you can see the Saints penalties on the season, very highly penalized team, 74 total penalties on the season for 525 yards versus the Falcons. Almost 20 penalties less than the Saints. Wow. Heavily penalized team, which in part would explain a lot of what's going on with this team in terms of what our records are, right? But outside of that, man, it just shows you a great degree of difficulty in terms of what we have to clean up and what we have to fix going forward in this matchup. So anyway, let's jump right into the statistics of what's going on with the Falcons and really the depth charts, because the reality is what the Saints are going to see in this matchup is kind of a little different. You know what I'm saying? They are without Michael Penix. Michael Penix is pretty much done for the season. He had torn an ACL in his left knee in that Carolina loss, and that's going to require full reconstructive surgery to address that injury. So he was placed officially on the IR 3 days ago, according to reports. And he was fantastic, man. To be honest with you, this guy was a fantastic young quarterback trying to come up. But remember, he had a history in college of having multiple injuries, and he'll be back. He will be back. He's only 25 years old, so he'll be back. But with him out of the way, Kirk Cousins steps into the fold. And remember, we have a respect-hate relationship with Kirk Cousins. He's played 3 games this year, and he's 32 of 52 for 250 yards, 61.5 completion percentage. He's averaging 5 yards a throw and 83.3 yards per game. He's been sacked 1 time and has a rating of 73.4. So Kirk Cousins, the veteran who a lot of people thought that they should get rid of and all this kind of stuff, but the Falcons knew that if something was to happen to Michael Penix, they could simply pivot to the 37-year-old overpriced quarterback, Kirk Cousins, to kind of direct the team going forward. So everything is in his 37-year-old hand to try to fix. And the Falcons are like, okay, well, Kirk, you are the veteran. We're under fire. Raheem Morris is under fire. It's your turn to turn this thing around. So we'll see. So he'll take the QB head. Bijan Robinson is still there. 783 yards off 158 carries. He averages 5 yards a carry and has 4 touchdowns on the year. He is the main progenitor of their rushing attack. Almost 1,200 yards rushing for this team on the season. Tyler Algieri, who is a combination back with him at 280 at 3.6. So you can see they use these guys together at times. And the main thing is, and this is tough to do, is kind of, put pressure on, not put, tough to do, but in terms of stopping Bijan Robinson, you can only hope to slow him down. The Saints have a tough task on their hand. Now, they were really up to it 2 weeks ago, actually, against Carolina, where they would stifle what he had going on, stop that really good running back they had going on with him. Now Robinson, who's way better, will have an opportunity to go against the Saints. And the Saints need to mimic that performance they had with a lot of gang tackling, run gap blitzing, all this kind of stuff, in gang tackling. Like the Saints are poor tacklers. A lot of it was poor tackling during the season, but now it's kind of shifted to gang tackling to fortify. So everybody to the ball, that type of thing. And Bijan Robinson is going to be the catalyst. He will be heavily relied on by the Falcons in this matchup. The receiving game, Drake London is out for the game. He is their top receiver with 60 catches, 810 yards, 6 touchdowns, and Drake London is also out for this game. He had that knee issue and he's ruled out, as you can see. This is their top guy. So both of their very good offensive stars are going to be missing in this game. The second receiver of the ball catching is Bijan Robinson. He's the top rusher and second leading, tied for second with Kyle Pitts in terms of receptions. Both have 47 catches. Bijan 506 yards, and he averages 11 yards every catch. He has 2 receiving touchdowns. Kyle Pitts has 47 grabs for 434 yards and a touchdown, and he averaged over 9 yards per catch on the season for both their stellar people. So you can best believe that Kirk Cousins will rely on throwing the ball out the backfield to Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts. Those are 2 guys that you're going to have to kind of watch out for. And the Falcons are going to want to try to get other people involved in the offense, whether it's Darnell Mooney or Casey Washington or anybody else for that matter. They're going to try to get some of these guys involved in the offense. And, of course, on the defensive side of the ball, you can see the top tackler there is former St. Caden Ellis, Xavier Watts, and others line up that situation. The top sacker on the team is Caden Ellis. Not Caden Ellis, Zach Harrison, who's out, and Brandon Dorlus are both guys that have 4.5 tackles on the season. This team has 34 sacks on the season. 2 of them, Zach Harrison and Brandon Dorlus, who both dealing with injury issues, have 4.5 sacks. 3.5 by Caden Ellis is the other guy. And, of course, the pick masters in this game for the Falcons is you got one guy who has it, Bates, who has 2 picks on the season and is listed as the second leading tackler for the Carolina Panthers. So we have a lot of stuff going on with Carolina. They're in a bit of disarray for this one. Young Wei Koo was put in the street, and they did pick up a new kicker, and Romo, who is 11-14 in 7 games. So I just can't believe that Young Wei Koo is not there anyway. Anymore. He was one of these fantastic kickers that they relied on. Boy, how things change, right? But anyway, this is what the Falcons depth chart looked like. Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, Drake London is out. So you'll see Kadero Hodge and Darnell Mooney and Devin Steele is there as well to try to pick up the space. Jamal Agnew and the rest of those guys will be tasked with trying to help out in the wide receiver room to try to keep things going. With Bijan, you could probably look for Tyler Algieri combination there to kind of help keep the running game going. Kyle Pitts is definitely the security blanket for them. Charlie Warner, more of a blocker. And then the offensive line with Jake Matthews. Bergeron is questionable in a game time decision. I think he's not going to be in this game. We'll see. Ryan Newsel. Lickstrom's dealing with injuries as well. So Kyle Hinton more than likely get an opportunity to get in there. Elijah Wilkins is also there. So a lot of injuries are circulating around Atlanta, and you see why. So David Onyemata leads the defensive line. You see the Leonard Floyd dealing with some issues. Divine is also in there. Bertrand and Jelani Walker, who's one of the top picks for the team. He's there. James Pierce Jr. Not a lot going on with James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. He's another fantastic young player, still trying to figure it out. He has 2.5 sacks with 6 solo tackles on the season right now. A lot of stuff. They picked up a lot of key players like in the draft, like Jelani Walker was a high drafted guy for Atlanta. He has 20 solo tackles and 4 sacks. And some of these guys are really playing really well. It's just they need to kind of, they just having some issues. They having problems stopping the run up front, and they have not fixed that thing. And then in the secondary was actually doing pretty good. A.J. Terrell, Mike Hughes, and Mike Ford Jr. with Jesse Bates and Xavier Watts. It's a very solid secondary group. Zane Gonzalez is listed there with Bradley Pinion is the guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how well these teams do going up front. And like I said, the Saints have difficulties stopping the run. Look at David, a 33-year-old David Onyemata, man, with 19 total tackles, just 1 sack happening for him on that offensive line. David Onyemata trying to carry for Atlanta. He's not the same player he used to. I remember with David Onyemata was a beast coming from the Saints. He still have it in him, but he's a lot older now. Laquel London, the big defensive tackle with 3 sacks along the line for the Falcons. And you can see Ruick, who is a sack and a half, the 6'4", 295-pounder out of Clemson. The second-round pick was brought in to kind of help stop stuff. And as you can see, the Falcons have kind of struggled in stopping the run. Secondary has been good, but this team is lacking some offensive firepower, obviously, with Drake London being out. But they still have Darnell Mooney, who can get deep and make plays for you. Kyle Pitts is still there. Bijan Robinson is still tied for second in receptions. Tyler Algieri can still help them. So it's no time to sleep on the Atlanta Falcons, right? We got to still be able to understand that principle, that we cannot go to sleep on the Falcons. All right, also, let's just kind of pivot to the Saints depth chart, where we'll be seeing from the Saints. Tyler Shough put up a really good performance 2 weeks ago against the Carolina Panthers, in which he kind of really lit them up. And this is what we want to see Tyler gets back to. And not only just Tyler, but also we need to see the likes of Kellen Moore call that type of game plan where he allows Tyler Shough to be Tyler Shough, which means to throw and get vertical. That's the whole thing. He has a live arm. They're finally realizing how to use Chris Olave by getting the ball up the field and allowing Chris Olave to make these fantastic grabs. Now what the Saints need to do, because the secondary will make all the emphasis in the world to slow down Chris Olave, even if they got to bracket him or double cover him, they're going to try to utilize him and force other players to beat them. And that's when guys have to step up. We know Juwan Johnson had probably one of his best games of the season against Carolina. He had no drops, and he really did a really solid job of handling his business for the Saints right now at 43 grabs for almost 500 yards and 3 touchdowns, averaging 11.4 yards a catch right now. And he has to keep doing this type of work he had in this opposite game. And Chris Olave is going to be the fulcrum or the focal point for the Saints' live offense now as they look to kind of keep pushing the ball up the field. He has 60 catches for almost 700 yards, 4 touchdowns, and catching, he's averaging 11.1 yards per catch. So that's pretty positive for him. And he's tied 7th in the entire NFL with catches. Can Chris Olave keep this thing going? He seemed to have reached and got back to himself. And you see him being more peaceful here. And let's hope that translates to more success going forward, right? As he is on the verge of getting that contract extension that they're still working out. Okay, so anyway, who's going to be the next wide receivers outside of Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, to step up and perform and have a good day? Well, Devon Valley's a guy the Saints brought here with multiple picks. He has only 6 catches for 54 yards in the touchdown. He's averaging 9 yards per catch. They have cleared the gamut. They've got rid of the likes of Brandon Cooks. They've traded away Rashid Shaheed, and now Devon Valley has no more obstruction. He doesn't have Brandon Cooks there anymore. Rashid Shaheed is not there. Now he has a full opportunity. He's getting all of the first team reps at the second wide receiver's position. He's a big physical wide receiver who catches a lot of his passes, 50-50 ball type thing. He has the speed. Now it's time for him to justify him being given up multiple picks for, even though they were on the low end, to Denver to get this guy here. He's now on the clock to show what he can do. And Mason Tipton, we already seen what Mason Tipton's all about. Now he has an opportunity as the third wide receiver position. He has not made a catch this season so far. We've seen Mason Tipton in the past and what he could do. We know it's a good route runner. We know he has the speed. Mason has to be able to show the brass that he is ready to compete here and ready to step it up. So Devon Valley, Mason Tipton now are the 2 other wide receivers there. Both of those guys are fast and fluid. They will have to step up and make catches to help the Saints keep and stay on time. Kevin Austin Jr. was also a guy the Saints were able to bring in and add to the team. He was off the practice squad, so add him to the squad, the active roster for what he did a couple years ago was pretty positive. They get a good look. And Dante Pettis, who was basically a return man that had a lot of solid work, he will be entering the game as the return man for the Saints. And I like both Pettis and Mason Tipton, and they have to kind of justify them being on the wide receiver core going forward. So anyway, Juwan Johnson's there, Foster Monroe. Will the Saints have an opportunity to see what's the man named Mitchell Payton, seeing him more than Jake Stahl? Hopefully so. We need more athleticism at the tight end position. Taysom Hill needs to be better utilized maybe at the running back position, maybe at wide receiver, kind of keeping him on the field and moving him around. The offensive line has kind of solidified. We've seen Kelvin Banks Jr. kind of get comfortable. They have Torrey Simpson's listed here, but it's not really Torrey Selly. It's going to be Dylan Reduns, who'll be at the left guard position with Luke Fortner, Cesar Ruiz, and Tali is out. So you'll see Asim Richards at the right tackle position. And the Saints looked a lot better, believe it or not, with three backups in the game. Reduns, Fortner, and Asim Richards. The Saints running attack looked a lot better than it's looked in a long time, to be honest with you. They were actually removing guys from the defensive line and pushing them around. Can they do that against the Falcons will be key. Remember, the defensive line, if you can't dominate and win in the line, you're going to have a problem. Line plays is big. Cam Jordan, Devine Gacho, Brian Bresee with Carl Granderson, Chase Young, Demario Davis, Pete Werner, and then the secondary, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Alante Taylor, Isaac Yidam, Justin Reed, and Jonas Sanker, or the rest of the secondary players. Blake Groupie, Kai Kroger, are the kicker and punter, with the return man being wide receiver Dante Pettis. Might even be every now and again Mason Tipton, but more Pettis than anything. But this is what the Saints have to do. We have to be able to get vertical, and we're going to have to attack them with the running attack. The Saints really need to, with Elvin dealing with his ankle issues and all that, I'd be really happy to see the Saints use Devin Neal more in this game than usual. We have to be able to use him, even if you're using Elvin Kamara as a decoy in pass situations. Still get Devin Neal in there. We need Kellen Moore to call a more decisive and better game than what we accustomed to him seeing, right? That's just through and through what we got to do. All right. So anyway, with that being said, man, let's jump immediately into the keys of victory, right? The 10 keys to victory that the Saints need to beat the Falcons in week 12, right? We got to consider that, right? So the 10 keys of victory, got them kind of written down here. We got to generate consistent pressure on Kirk Cousins, right? The Falcons offensive line missing some people. We got to be able to get to them. Cam, Granderson, and others, they got to tee off. You know, we got basically a statue back there, and it's totally different than Penix, a guy that's athletic, that moves around, that can throw on the run. You got a guy that's 37 years old. He can't move too good, and he's basically a statue back there. We got to get to him, and we got to tee off on him. No doubt about it. Granderson, Chase Young, and others, we got to use the safety, Alante and the safety blitz. We got to use DeMario every now and again to get in there and kind of knock these guys down. That's number one. We got to generate consistent pass rush on that 37-year-old Kirk Cousins. Number two, we got to force turnovers. The turnover margin is crucial in these games. The Saints defense needs to capitalize on the opportunities. They got to force the fumbles, interceptions. Kirk Cousins threw interceptions. You know, before we got to take advantage of him. He is turnover prone. When you start getting pressure on him, next thing you know, you start seeing him throwing the ball early. And usually when you can get him to do that and commit to getting pressure on him and throwing the ball early, that leads to turnovers. So we got to be able to do that. Number three, we got to contain. I ain't gonna say stop, because I don't know if you could stop Bijan Robinson, but you got to try to contain him, because he's going to be the catalyst in which how they move this offense forward, right? Atlanta's powerful run game centered behind Robinson is their biggest offensive threat. The Saints must win at the line of scrimmage. They got to force early contact, stay disciplined on the edges to prevent explosive runs, which means you got to contain them. But once you then contain him, then you also must tackle him, contain him, and then get to him. And then ultimately you must bring him down. If we got to gang tackle Bijan Robinson, so be it. He's a handful to try to tackle one-on-one, but the Saints are going to have to magnetize to the ball. They're going to have to galvanize to the ball. They got to gang tackle to the ball and get Bijan Robinson down. You can't allow him to break tackles. You can't allow him to have these runs where he takes off and hits you for a 40 or 50-yard run to blow the game open. That's been a problem with the Saints this entire season. They've not done a good job of gang tackling and basically period, just been non-fundamental in their tackle approach. We cannot do that against Bijan Robinson. He has to be brought down, contained, and wrestled down, right? Number four, stop the run overall. The Falcons will likely lean heavy into the running backs, whether it's Robinson or Tyler Shough. Saints must contain this rushing attack to make Atlanta's offense one-dimensional and force them into long and distance downs on pass situations. So we have to be able to focus on that as well. We got to stop that. All right. Then utilize Alvin Kamara effectively. We know that the Falcons have struggled against running backs in recent weeks. Saints should be able to exploit their weakness by using Kamara heavily in running passing games and to gain control and tempo to dominate the tempo with AK-41 in the rushing game, right? Also using Devin Neal, decoying Alvin Kamara too will be another thing that we can do. All right, then converting the red zones. The Saints have a low red zone touchdown conversion rate this season. They must improve the efficiency in the red zone to turn scoring opportunities into touchdowns instead of field goals. So turning those opportunities into touchdowns as opposed to kicking field goals will be key. And how do you fix the red zone woes if you're the New Orleans Saints? You got to mix up your personnel. You know, you got to have a red zone set of players that comes in the game. I think a guy like Matavo could really help, like getting Matavo in the game. He's a 6'8" tight end. He's a huge tight end we could put in the game, whether it's Devon Valley, who's 6'5", or Matavo, who's 6'8". We have to be able to get these taller players in the game to have our tall quarterback to even throw to him. That's the reason why we picked up a guy like Matavo. We see him and visualize him as a potential red zone weapon for us, and I think he should be used. Now, we did see him in the game earlier this year, but since then, there's not been that situation. So the Saints will have to develop a group of players who feel comfortable in the red zone, whether it's big physical guys like a 6'5" Valley, in which he throws the ball up to Valley, who some of these cornerbacks that they have are 6'1" guys. Valley 6'5", and he's good at jumping for the 50-50 ball. Juwan Johnson also has to become better in the red zone, right? And like I said, I would like to see a Matavo there in red zone situation as well. We have to be able to feel more comfortable there. We have to be able to convert in the red zone. We got to make the red zone our home. That's the bottom line. All right. So, all right. Then we got another 3, right? We got 3. That was 7. Number 6. This is 7, right? All right. Actually, yeah, that was 7. We got this is number 8. Control the tempo by effectively running the ball and executing consistent drives. The Saints can control the game's pace, keep the Falcons offense off the field, and manage the pressure on their own quarterback. Controlling the tempo will be astronomically huge in this game against the Falcons. The Saints will have to control their emotion in this game. We have to be under control. This will be in a dome. It'll be an afternoon game. We have to control our emotion. I know we don't like the Falcons that much, but we have to control that and put that or filter that into a positive way where we can be able to control the tempo of the game and be able to dominate the Falcons like we're supposed to, right? Minimize penalties and turnovers. The Saints have a negative turnover differential this season. Taking care of the ball and playing disciplined football will be essential for the victory in a division rivalry game where the momentum swings will be significant. So that's a part of the game as well that we have to pay attention to and we have to acknowledge. Minimizing the penalties, like we just showed, it's like Saints got like 70 plus penalties this year. This is ridiculous. On pace for over 100 penalties is not a very good way for the Saints to go for the rest of the season. So they kind of making the offense simpler through Tyler Shough. They're getting the weapons to kind of work with him, moving all this other stuff. So they seem to are finding a way to develop identity over the 2 games that Tyler Shough has been the quarterback. Can they continue that discipline wise? I love how they played in the Carolina game. Can they mimic that performance against the Falcons at home in the dome? That will be key. And of course, the final one, right? Leverage home field advantage, right? The game in the dome where the Saints aim to maintain a recent home success against the Falcons environment should help the defense feed off the crowd's energy. And that's what the Saints have to do. Feed off, because it's going to be a real mad crowd and hate week. It usually is. And if you're the Saints, you want to tap into that energy. You want to get going very early on. First drive, you want to get down the field with explosive plays, and you really want to blitz, insofar as, hit Atlanta early. Get down there at first drive, score a touchdown, defense come after them. And then after that, set the tone for the game in your environment and let the crowd just let that energy, the team absorb that energy and play with that energy through the game and allow it to lift them to victory. That will be key in this game, taking care of business. This should be a win for the Saints. I picked the Saints to win this game, obviously, not because they're missing a bunch of stars. This is a team that is set up to be beaten down by the Saints right now. And when the Saints beat the Falcons, more than likely they will fire their head coach. We know we've done that with the last coach we had when we beat him in the game where Dennis Allen apologized for the Saints disobeying his orders and going for that touchdown for Williams, the running back, thanks to Jameis. This game, same thing, not similar thing. Then you're going to have a possum for a coach telling on them, but what's going to end up happening is the Saints will have an opportunity to get that coach fired. He's under pressure right now, and beating the Saints is key to him keeping his job. He lose against the Saints, which he will. What's going to end up happening is your boy Raheem Morris is going to get fired. They want him up out of there. They're yelling for his scalp. He loses to the Saints, that more than likely will happen that following Monday. So anyway, that's what I got for y'all on this, man, on this show as well. That's the 10 keys to victory. Y'all put in the chat. Let me know how y'all feel about that. And also, man, let me kind of hit y'all with this right here a little bit before we get ready to leave. Saints reportedly attempted to include, quote, poison pill, end quote, in Brandon Cook's deal to clear waivers. What did they mean? Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk cited a source with knowledge of the situation, reports that the Saints agreed to a revised contract with veteran wide receiver Brandon Cooks before waiving him. What do you mean? According to Florio, the Saints specifically agreed that Cooks would be released and he would forego all rights to the balance of his 2025 salary as a termination pay if and when he clears waivers. However, The revised deal has reportedly complicated the situation, and it is possible the Saints won't be able to release him, right? Fleuria mentions there's a belief in league circles that Cooks is looking to join a specific team like a contender. So finding a way to go unclaimed would allow him to sign with a team of his choosing. The issue is the NFL rules prohibit a team from creating a deterrent to waivers claim. So the Saints, quote, revised Cook's contract according to Fleuria contract according to Fleuria and restored his full guarantee of $1.69 million. This gives the Saints until November the 26th to waive him and avoid paying it to him. We're right now on at the 22nd. So Fleuria points out that NFL rules, two separate provisions that apply to teams attempting to deter waiver claims, with the consequence being a prohibition against waiving a player for the balance of the season. Fleuria hears that the Saints may have been given an inaccurate interpretation of the rules, but it sounds like the teams around the league aren't happy. There's a story here that some want to go away quickly, but because the contracts were posted, teams know and want blood, a source tells Fleuria. Beyond that, some believers that a full-blown conspiracy involving the Saints, another team, and Cook's agent. Cook's 31 is a former first-round pick of the Saints back in 2014, was entering the final year of a 4-year, $8.4 million contract where he was traded to the Patriots in 2017. New England later picked up his fifth-year option in 2018 before trading him to the Rams for a first- and sixth-round pick. From there, Cooks agreed to a 5-year extension worth $81 million with the Rams, only to be traded to the Texans in 2020. Cooks was set to make a base salary of $12.5 for the 2022 season when he agreed to a 2-year, $39.6 million extension with Houston. However, the Texans traded him to the Cowboys for a mid-round pick. The Saints signed Cooks to a 2-year, $13 million deal this past March. In 2025, Cooks appeared in 10 games and caught 19 passes off of 25 targets for $165 and no TDs. So a lot of stuff going on, and usually that's the case with Mickey Loomis, trying to throw a poison pill in the deal with Cooks. But nonetheless, Cooks is not a member of the Saints team anymore. So whatever contractual issues that are going to occur with that is yet to be determined or are being determined as of right now. So just more insane stuff about what the Saints are doing. Like we said, it was one of these situations where I was like, I don't know why this guy is here. We don't know why he's here. Then all the time, the Saints sit up here saying, yeah, we like Cooks, and Cooks had no purpose here. They wasted time and wasted money with these players. And it's just what we've seen, bad calls by the Saints yet again. Not saying, well, we didn't know. Well, the people know. We knew. I knew that this Cooks thing was not going to work out. It wasn't going to work out for us. And it just shows that it did, right? So anyway, man, let's do a brief look at this over the cap right quick for the fam before I cut bait and run. Here it is right here. Right now as it stands, fam, you can see the Saints team space is $10.9 million in cap money currently, right? After the Cooks releasing, after Cooks was waived and released, the Saints number is $10.9 million. And in 2026, you will be 13.3 plus over the cap, which is actually pretty damn good. Thanks to the Derek Carr contract not being able to be applied. And what happened with him, our salary cap is actually 13.3, which is very respectable. And this is with Taysom Hill off the books. This with Cam, Demario Davis, their contracts voiding, Foster Monroe. You're only 13.3. And of course, they'll end up reworking Alvin Kamara, who had one of the largest. I think Chase Young will have 14.8. They'll remodel his or restructure his deal. Carl Granderson at 10.7. Chris Olave is currently at 15.4 going into this year before we see what his contract look like. So you got just a handful of players that are going to be double digit in money for you. 11.5 for AK-41. McCoy is going to be 10 million flat. Chase Young's 14.8. Curl is 10.7. Chris, before, right now on his 5th-year option thing, it'll be 15.4. We'll see what that looks like when they finally finalize the deal. But outside of that, there are no other Saint players that'll be in double-digit dollars in terms of what they have going on next year. Jawan Johnson is under 10 million with 9, just over 9. And Cesar Ruiz is 9.5. Justin Reed is 9.2. So the Saints, from a salary cap standpoint, next year looking pretty good. They did get more draft picks back after the trade situation, and the word on the street is they're looking to build in the draft, but that's next year. As a force, when we talking about this year, the Saints still have a lot to go on because they still have the Week 12 battle with the Falcons. So with that being said, listen, I'm going to get on up out of here. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. It's almost time for LSU to get the business. It's almost time for the Pelicans. Both of these teams are playing tonight. We'll be recapping both matchups, PPR tonight after the game, and Tough Tiger Talk recap after LSU's matchup with Western Kentucky. For our Tough Tiger Talk, of my LSU people out there that are Saints people and Pelican people, Tough Tiger Talk is available for all things LSU Tigers and Pelican Post Game Report. The realest in the game on Pelican Talk as well. We got it all covered. So with that being said, I salute you guys. Appreciate y'all for being here. Y'all do us a service. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show on social media feed. We up in this thing, doing what we do, how we do, when we do. The Coma representing the mighty Who Dat Nation. With that being said, I'm out. Much love, peace, and Who Dat to you.
Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Long as I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shade for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, running like this, and I'm a Who Dat. Every day I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Say they gon' beat them Saints. Who that? Who that? Who that say they gon' beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that say they gon' beat them Saints? Who that? Who that?
Hey, New Orleans! Whether you're catching up on Saints news at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome From Preservation Hall to the riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with thewhodatdaily.com, your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit thewhodatdaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation. Stay in the NO, you stay in the know.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, everything's crafted right here in New Orleans. Whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids, we've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below or in the chat.